noticed, there's an eerie silence. Yeah. People love these types of topics. Yeah, just got all of us. Before I was talking about Dajjal hijab, people yawning, sleeping. Yeah. Now Dajjal, yeah, everyone's walking up. Anyway, Dajjal will appear when you speak about him the least. Okay. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Dajjal will appear when you stop speaking about him from the pulpit, from the minbar. So as long as we speak about him from the minbar, we're safe, inshallah. Now Dajjal, he has a human form. Dajjal has a human form. The best hadith, well, the most famous hadith when we talk about Dajjal is the hadith of Tameem dari radiallahu ta'ala. Many of you have heard it many a times. Now for the youngsters especially, instead of walking away from here and just thinking, oh yeah, that was a nice talk, pass the message on to your friends. Sometimes you just sit there with your friends and you have nothing to talk about, and then all these different thoughts come inside your head. But what you can do is you can take something away from here and you can discuss this with your friends. You will see them later on after Jummah if you're released and you're let outside. So talk about these things. These are interesting topics. Tameem dari radiallahu ta'ala, and he was an Arab and he was a Christian. Tameem dari radiallahu ta'ala, and he was an Arab and he was a Christian. Whenever Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam wanted to talk about anything, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he would gather all the people and he would talk. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would address them. On this one occasion, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he gathered everyone together, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, where is Tameem dari radiyallahu ta'ala an? Tameem dari radiyallahu ta'ala an was brought to the front, and Tameem dari radiyallahu ta'ala an was asked, that mentioned to the people, tell the people what you've seen. So what did Tameem dari radiyallahu ta'ala an say? Tameem dari radiyallahu ta'ala an says that we were traveling in a ship, and a storm hit us, and we got lost, and we landed on an island. When we landed on this island, we seen this figure, and this figure was totally covered in hair. This figure was totally covered, his back and his front. His back and his front was totally covered in hair. They spoke to him and they said to him, Waylaki, ma anti? Woe unto you. What are you? What are you? And this thing, it says my name is Anal Jassasa. This thing, it says my name is Jassasa. Jassasa meaning spy. Okay, now I want you to remember this. His name is Jassasa. Remember his appearance. And then he says to these people, he says, come with me. He says, Intaliqu ila hadha rajuli fi dayr. Intaliqu ila hadha rajuli fi dayr. Come with me. And he says, come with me and let's go meet this person. Now this person, it said the word used over here in the hadith is a rajul. Intaliqu ila hadha rajul. So over here we can understand that he has a physical appearance. So he says, come with us and we're going to go to this. Dajjal is called a place of worship. Dajjal is called a place of worship. So they follow him and they go inside. And when they go inside, they see a massive beast. In the book it says, in the hadith it says there was this big figure. And his hands are tied to his neck. And his neck and his hands are tied to his knees. Yeah? So these people, they ask him that, what are you? And he says, I am tied up. So I fear you more than you fear me, because you are loose. You can attack me. So I fear you more than you fear me. So I'm going to ask you the questions and you're going to answer the questions. So they said, okay. So the first question that he asks, he says, tell me, the palm trees of Baysan. The palm trees of Baysan. Are they giving fruit? Are they giving dates? Are they giving dates? Now Baysan is a place in Jordan. Baysan is a place in Jordan. So this figure is asking these people, is in this area in Baysan, are the fruits still coming onto this tree? Are the figs and dates still on these trees? So these people say yes. So he says that there will be a time when there'll be no dates on these trees. And someone that I spoke to went 18, 19 years ago to the same place, Jordan, Baysan. And he says the dates over there, they've dried up. They're scarce. You can't find them no more. Okay, number one. Number two, he asks him, he says, tell me about Buhaira Tabariya, sorry. Tell me about Buhaira Tabariya. This is a lake. This is near Sham. So he asks them about Buhaira Tabariya. This is a lake near Sham. He says, what is the script about this lake? They say there's loads of water in it. He says, very soon it'll run dry. Then he asks them the third question. He says to them, tell me about the fountain of Zahar. The fountain of Zahar. The fountain of Zahar from Baytul Maqdis, if you were to travel for 3 days, it's in Israel, but it's in 3 days, gap from Baytul Maqdis, a walk from Baytul Maqdis. He says, tell me about the fountain of Zahar. Is there vegetation around there? Is there water around there? So these people say yes. So he says, very soon there'll be no water there. And very soon there'll be no vegetation there as well. Then he says, tell me about the Nabiyya Ummi. He's talking about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, tell me about him. So they say, yeah, he's come out and he's talked about Nabuwa. So he says, where is he now? So they say that he's in Yathrib. He's in Medina. So he asks them that how has his people dealt with him? So they say that they have thrown him out of Mecca and now he's in Medina. And he says, how are the battles in between them? What do they do in between them? So he says, there's battles in between them. They win some, they lose some, and on this side they win some and lose some as well. And then he uses the words, he says, أَمَا أَنَّ ذَاكَ خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ أَن يُطِيعُوا. This sentence is crazy, guys. What does Dajjal say? He says, أَمَا أَنَّ ذَاكَ خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ أَن يُطِيعُوا. And he's mentioned this at that time, but this sentence we can still apply in our lives today. He says, it's better if these people followed him. أَمَا أَنَّ ذَاكَ خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ أَن يُطِيعُوا. It's better if these people follow him. Then they ask him, a number of things. And then in the end, he says that I am Dajjal. And so he has a physical form. Now we're just going to pause here at the moment, okay?